Hello chess friends and welcome to your Out of Chess channel and welcome to a crazy game from the TCEC Season 27 Grand Final that we have followed on the official and beautiful TCEC website. In the Super Final we had the epic match between Stockfish 17 and Leela LCZero, in which we have to say Stockfish was much better. Stockfish dominated over Leela with a clear result. All the 100 games they played, it was a plus 14 result for the fish, which is really crazy. Pure domination by simply the strongest chess engine in the world. Although Leela had some bright moments that we have mentioned, Leela played two awesome, brilliant fortress ideas where it seemed so that Leela LCZero could lose the game, but Leela found really great defensive strategies, and also in some pairings Leela won the pairings with also a great attacking idea. But in general, I think we can agree that Stockfish is a much better chess engine than Leela, so it's now again a deserved winner of a new TCEC season. So I've sorted out now a beautiful and spectacular, crazy attacking gameplay by the fish against Leela from the round 28 of this super final, in which a Scandinavian has been pre-arranged, and in this game Stockfish pull off very crazy attacking ideas. Put your seatbelts on and enjoy in really one of the best games from this super finals for sure. So with white, the fish opened with the move e4, d5. The Scandinavian defense here by Leela. E takes d, knight to f6. The idea by this approach by black is, which is now called the modern variation, is to pick up the knight without exposing the queen. Of course, if you play queen to d5, then knight to c3 can happen, and then the queen could a little bit be kicked away by white minor piece activity. Bishop to b5, in between check by the fish. Leela covers, and now Stockfish simply retreats. And you see the issue is that so far Stockfish is relying on this extra pawn. This bishop is standing in between, so it's, I think, also a good approach here by Stockfish against this modern variation by Leela. We have bishop to g4, f3, bishop to f5, and Stockfish goes immediately with g4. Simply is not allowing here Leela to breathe. Leela has to step back, and now Stockfish simply cements the pawn on d5 with knight to c3, e5 by Leela, and now great move here by the fish, h4. Many of us, I think, would play the move d takes e6 here, which would be still a good position, I would say, for white, but this is not so good because after f takes e6, bishop to e6, that's, I think, a position that usually a Scandinavian defense player wants to get. It reminds me also a little bit about this Albin counterattack when you're playing maybe the Queen's Gambit with the white pieces, where black will try to get here some extra time, will try to get an extra tempo, and then will simply castle queenside. Again, the engine evaluates this position as, of course, better for white. You are having extra material. But I think this is very nice attacking method for black, where white has now tough time to where to castle. D3, bishop to d2 or something, or bishop to f4, queen to d2 is a little bit too slow. And if you castle, of course, kingside, then you have already exposed yourself because you push the pawns too much in front of white's king on the king side. So that's why very interesting line. So Stockfish, after move e5 by Leela, plays simply the best approach with the move h4, simply trying to trap the bishop. Leela is forced now to react, and Stockfish plays very aggressively in the center with the move d4. What should you do now? Many of us, again, from black's perspective, would play the move h takes g4. This wasn't playing the game, but look how crazy this attack is by the fish. D takes e5 could happen. You may be trying queen to e7, then queen to e2. You're trying this one, knight to h5, and now there is a beautiful, again, in between check with the move bishop to b5. You have to cover, then d6. Look at this. The pawns are rolling. You have to play strange moves like queen to d7, then bishop to d3, and it seems so that maybe knight to g3 is winning. I've analyzed a little bit further this crazy position, imaginary position, of course. This wasn't playing the game, but I wanted to show how really brutal this Stockfish lines are. For instance, even it seems so that maybe white is losing after knight to g3. There is a beautiful in between e6. This is the way to go. For instance, you're trying knight to e2, then of course here e takes d7 comes with the check, and you win the size of material. If you, for instance, step back with the queen, then we pick up first of all the king, then the check is coming, and now in one crazy line, for instance, then I've analyzed at home, you could also get checkmate. For instance, queen to e6 here is also not working because after queen takes e6 and f takes e6, bishop to g6. For instance, you're trying f takes e6, then again bishop to g6. So Nothing is working here. Game over simply here for black. So this was our analysis after potential h takes g4. This is not possible because of this very dangerous d takes e5. So that's why after h5, Leela tried here to move bishop to d6. We have d takes e5. So here Leela took, and now g5. Another tempo here by the fish. Leela is now forced to step back. Moves like bishop to g3 again are not working. Again, Stockfish has here crazy calculations. Then king to f1 solve every tactical problem, and now actually black has some issues. Black has to step back. Then we play check, and now after a couple more moves with f4, look at this. This is crazy. The bishop gets even trapped. You're trying, I don't know, maybe to step back, but then knight to e2 simply traps the piece. This is game over simply. Here for black. So bishop to g3 seems again tempting. You're now forcing white to react. It seems so that, of course, white is losing the courage of castling, but again, even this line is not working. So that's why for g5, knight from f to d7 by Leela. Stockfish attacks now the piece, and Leela simply takes. And okay, in this tactical sequence, it seems so again that maybe black has solved many tactical and positional problems, especially because now Stockfish has a weakness on d5, has a weakness on c3. Maybe we can count also the pawn on c2 as a weakness, but the issue is again the lack of development here for black. The knights are a little bit misplaced, although they are having maybe later some good squares to attack in the position. Here after b takes c3, Leela castled, Stockfish develops, bishop to f5, and now castling also by Stockfish. Now quite risky choice again by the fish to castle where you have already exposed yourself a little bit. The pawns are advanced, so there are of course many spaces that black could attack, but Stockfish says castling is here perfectly fine. Knight to b6, bishop to b3, bishop to g4, queen to d2, getting simply out of this attack by the light square bishop. And even if you take here the knight and then maybe you go for the pawn, there is still this problem of queen takes h5, rook to d1 could be maybe defended with c6, c4, then knight to c3 is very risky. Look at this, then even black is winning after this line. So Stockfish played again the correct choice here. Pardon me, in this sorry, bishop to e2, queen to e2, and queen to h5. This was now our again imaginary line. Queen to h5 is so devastating, because even if you pick up this one, then g6 is breaking through. Maybe you have some checks with queen to d4, but then we step back and suddenly black is running out of good moves. It's simply game over. Knight to d5, and then queen to h7, for instance, is a checkmate even here in this particular position. So that's why for queen to d2, you see Leela cannot even simplify the game by trading off more pieces. Leela is forced now to play a solid knight to d7. Stockfish finally gets out of this attack. Leela is trying to finally open the position and trying maybe to use the spaces that are left here in front of white's king, but Stockfish simply cements further the position, is not allowing this position to explode in the center of the board. Knight to c5, bishop to a3, pin simply the knight to the rook. Leela defends, and now Stockfish plays a great centralization of the queen with queen to d4, queen to b6. Stockfish gets out of the potential tactical mess here on dark squares, and here bishop to c5 wouldn't be maybe so good. It leads, I think, into a too simplified line where maybe after queen to c6, black should be even slightly better here in this scenario. Look at this, the bishop on g4 cemented, the bishop on b3 is blocked by its own pawn, so not a good continuation, of course. Here for white. So that's why for queen to b6, Stockfish keeps still the bishop pair on the board. Leela takes, Stockfish plays now bishop to b2. Interesting line, of course, threatening immediately the checkmate on g7. Leela is forced now to play knight to e6, and in between attack against the queen, but also protecting the pawn on g7. Queen takes b6, and now after knight takes b6 and c takes d5, Stockfish simplified now the game further, where okay, I think it fits simply here for white that the queens are off the board because of the spaces that we have discussed that could be attacked. Now when the queens are off the board with the bishop pair on the board and with some extra pawns here white has a perfect now endgame. So after c takes d5, knight to c5, c4, Stockfish cements further the position. Leela goes now for the c4 pawn, bishop to d4, and now knight to d3. We have a c5, great move here by the fish. Knight takes c5, we have bishop to c5 and rook to c5, and we have reached now this position in which Stockfish gave up now a pawn. Again, now material is equal, but Stockfish simply relies on this beautiful passer now on the d file. And this is really crazy. This is a really spectacular position because it seemed to me that maybe many of us, I think, could defend this position with the black pieces, but Stockfish, I almost think that Stockfish has calculated now the whole position till the end, because Stockfish says this is such a dangerous pawn. Stockfish goes with knight to e4. First of all, attacks the rook. Rook has to step back, and now Stockfish goes with rook to e1. If you try to rook to d8, then d6 is very dangerous. Even if you go for this pawn on f5, then this rook is coming. You're trying maybe, I don't know, a5, knight to g3, again very dangerous. You're trying this one, g6. I'm showing you this line because this will be, I think, sort of a picture here, sort of a pattern that Stockfish is trying now many times to do. This bishop on b3 is very dangerous, so it's very hard for the Leela LCZero to compete against this very nasty bishop here on this light square diagonal. So after rook from f to e1, Leela tried knight to c4. Stockfish simply pushes the pawn further, and now bishop to f5. But again, you see the tactical promise around the square f7. Stockfish goes now with rook from a to d1, protects now simply the pawn on d6. And the issue is here that even if you try to go maybe with bishop to e4, then rook to e4 leads into complications because this pawn is rolling. Then f5, look at this, you're trying to attack the piece, then this rook is coming on the 7th rank. I don't know, even if you try, I don't know, g6 is also very dangerous, could be playable, but rook to e7, I think, is devastating. Then you're trying, I don't know, to pick up the piece, you're trying to get the king closer, then this rook is protecting, and the issue is that this rook is a little bit misplaced, cannot attack the position immediately. You're trying maybe here in this position to push the pawn further, but now g6 is letting the position explode. Look at this. I just analyzed a little bit this position. Look at this. This rook is coming on the 7th rank. You can even leave this pawn rolling, but now you go simple like this. After a couple more moves, you could maybe try this sequence where even a checkmate pattern can be prepared with both of these rooks and this very progressive pawn on the g file. That's just one line that I wanted to show you, but the main goal of this line that I'm showing you is that to demonstrate that black cannot simply go and simplify the game by bringing up more pieces, because this pawn is too dangerous here to handle for black. So that's why after rook from a to d1, Leela played b5. Stockfish centralizes the rook, bishop to d7, king to h2, getting out of the potential light square mess here that could happen here by the light square bishop. Now comes bishop to c6, and now rook to d3. We have now bishop to d7, and now comes this idea that we have discussed, g6. And this is a great move. This move is letting the position explode here because you cannot take. If f takes g6 happen, then this knight gets cemented. I don't know, you're trying a5, then again this rook is coming, rook gets centralized, then again you push the pawn further, then look at this bishop to c4, then knight to f7. Crazy tactics are possible here. You pick up this one, then you deliver a check, and suddenly the king has to step back from the defense. And in one line that I've analyzed, for instance, a potential promotion can happen, and this is a position that you can resign. But again, I wanted to demonstrate to you this power of the g6 move is something that bothers now Leela till the end of the game. g6, rook to e8 by the fish. Stockfish plays now rook to d5, goes also for the h5 pawn. Now comes f takes g6, and now a beautiful move, a rook to e5. You cannot pick up the rook, of course, with the knight because of the light square bishop activity. Even if you go with rook takes e5, then f takes e5 creates again this two connected pass pawns now that are mobile, that are supported, and now in a potential line, king to f7, knight to c5. You play something like this, you have to cover. Look at this, even e6 is going to happen, bishop to c4. Now the pawns are rolling, and in a couple more moves, I think you can resign. So again, After rook to e5, that Stockfish played brilliant move. Leela is forced now to react. Leela plays rook to f8. Stockfish goes now with the knight towards the center of the board. Attacks now also here the light square bishop. If rook to e5 happens, then knight to d7 first. Even if you try, I don't know, here knight takes e5, then f takes e5. Again connects now both of these pawns. The bishop is hanging, e6 is going to happen for sure. You cannot play the blockade. The square is taken by the bishop and the knight, so again, not a good position here for Leela. So that's why for knight to c5, bishop to g4, d7, rook to d8, and now rook to e7. Look how Stockfish is making further progress with this beautiful rook activity. The knight is on a good place. The bishop is waiting, of course, to come into the game. So far it's blocked, but all of the other pieces are playing, of course, in beautiful harmony. Here a5, a4. Stockfish is trying to deflect the pawn that's defending the knight. Knight to d6, and now a takes b5. Rook to b8, and now bishop to a4, protecting everything, and now bishop to c2, simply going again for the g6 pawn. What should you do? If you try here bishop to f5, this wasn't played in the game, then bishop to f5 is possible. Then g takes f5, rook to g7 is going to happen. If you, for instance, try here knight to f5, then the issue is rook to e8. The knight gets deflected from the defense of the square. This is again game over. Here for black, g takes f5, for instance, rook to g7, here king takes g7, and then knight to e6 is again winning the game. Look at this again. This pawn is so annoying to handle. This is very advanced pawn, and the pieces of whites are, as I mentioned before, somehow playing in very beautiful harmony there. Of course, protecting everything. They're controlling black's pieces. They're keeping them all of the game. So very nice endgame technique here by the fish. So that's why for bishop to c2, it's hard to defend now this pawn on g6. Leela tried rook takes b5, bishop to g6, rook to b8, f5, bishop to f5, bishop to f5, knight to f5. But now Stockfish simply goes against the knight, g6, knight to e6 wins now simply the exchange. And now another brilliant move here by the fish, rook to b5. For instance, if you try rook to b5, then knight takes d8 comes with a check, and now knight to e6 forces now maybe here the move rook to b8, but then d8 the promotion. Game over. Rook to b5, great move. Forces again reaction by Leela. Rook to a8. Stockfish plays again on the same pattern. Rook takes a5. Stockfish grabs another pawn. Beautiful, really spectacular technique here by the fish. Rook from a to b8, and now finally knight takes d8, rook takes d8, and now rook to d1. Obviously, this position is now completely collapsing here. Stockfish goes now simply further with the king. Goes simply, it's restricting, of course, the king's ability. Now, king to rook to g6. We have rook to f8. Stockfish centralizes the king. Delivers a new check. King to e6, and now a new promotion happened. Leela tried to battle, of course, but it's simply not working after rook takes d8 in this particular position. Leela LCZero resigned. So, great attack here by the fish against the Scandinavian defense. I really loved the simplification ideas by Stockfish, where Stockfish simply traded off everything but relied on this passer, which many of us, I think, would not dare to play. Stockfish realized somehow that this endgame is simply going in white's favor, gave up the bishop pair, and then let the pawn roll on the d file. You see the power of a passer. Very crazy performance again by Stockfish 17. So, okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. A crazy attack again by the fish against Leela LCZero. Congratulations again to the developers of the Stockfish engine. It becomes stronger and stronger, and also in this grand final, in this super final, we had again the brilliant performance by the strongest chess engine in the world. So, okay, if you want to see some other really crazy, spectacular chess games like this, check out our Come to Chess Games Play by Computer series. Here's the link of our playlist, and if you like this content, hit the subscribe button. See you soon with some more videos, and what do we say in the end? Chess is the best, of course.